We live in a world defined by the Apple logo. The iPhone is a global currency. The company is routinely the most valuable on Earth. Feels untouchable, inevitable. But let me tell you the unfiltered truth about the moment in history that you've probably forgotten. The moment Apple was 90 days from death. This wasn't a rumor. This was a financial fact in 1997. The company that pioneered the personal computer was now a Silicon Valley joke. It was losing $1 billion in a single year. Inventory was a mountain of confusing, outdated products nobody wanted. They were selling a dozen different Mac models with no clear purpose. Cash reserves were dwindling faster than they could be replenished. And in this chaos, the board made the most desperate, ridiculous, and ultimately genius decision in corporate history. They brought back Steve Jobs, the brilliant, fiery co-founder they had fired 12 years earlier. But this wasn't a hero's return. It was an intervention at a funeral. Jobs was back, but he was staring into an open grave. To understand Jobs' position, you have to understand the decade of decay. After he was ousted in 1985, Apple lost its soul. The engineers were running the show, producing crap. As Jobs later put it, products like the Newton MessagePad, a clunky $700 device that was a total flop, became symbols of their failure. The vision was lost. The focus was gone. The primary enemy wasn't internal, though. It was external. The market was completely dominated by Microsoft Windows running on cheap PCs. It was the Wintel duopoly, and they were squeezing Apple into irrelevance. Why pay a premium for a Mac when a Windows PC could do the same job for less? Jobs' first step was brutal. He didn't try to fix everything. He decided to kill everything. He walked into a meeting and saw a massive chart detailing their entire product line. He demanded to know, which ones do I tell my friends to buy? When nobody could give him a straight answer, he took a marker and slashed the whiteboard. He ruthlessly cut 70% of the entire product line. Gone were the clones, gone was the bloated inventory, gone was the beloved Newton. He took dozens of products and reduced the entire company focus to just 4. A desktop and a laptop, for consumers and professionals. This was necessary surgery, but it didn't solve the immediate problem. The cash was still hemorrhaging. Jobs had bought them time to focus, but the 90-day clock was still ticking down to zero. They needed a massive infusion of capital, and in the panicked, recession-fearing world of 1997, no major investor would touch them. Jobs was desperate. His back was against the wall. The failure of Apple meant the permanent end of his legacy and the triumph of his rivals. He realized that the only person on the planet with the power, the resources, and the motive to save Apple was the one person he hated most. He called Bill Gates. Imagine that conversation. The two biggest, most competitive egos in technology, rivals since the 1980s, one begging the other for help. The resulting deal was announced live at the 1997 Macworld Expo. And the audience, the hardcore Mac faithful, freaked out. They booed. They shouted. They saw their corporate hero, Jobs, selling out to the corporate enemy, Gates. The terms of the pact were staggering. 1. $150 million investment. Microsoft agreed to buy $150 million worth of non-voting Apple stock. Crucially, this gave Apple the immediate financial breathing room to operate and signaled confidence to the rest of the market. 2. Microsoft Office guarantee. Gates guaranteed that Microsoft would continue to develop and ship Microsoft Office for Mac for the next 5 years. 3. The price. In exchange, Apple had to drop its lawsuit against Microsoft over Windows copyright infringement, and had to make Microsoft's Internet Explorer the default browser on the Mac. The unfiltered brilliance of the moment wasn't the money. The $150 million was pocket change to Microsoft. The real savior was the Office guarantee. Without Office, the indispensable suite of business tools, no business would buy a Mac. By guaranteeing Office, Jobs secured Apple's relevance in the corporate world, buying them years to innovate. Jobs stood on stage and delivered the line that defined his comeback. We have to let go of this notion that for Apple to win, Microsoft has to lose. It was a humbling admission that saved the company he loved. He had sacrificed his pride to achieve his vision. The deal worked. The cash stabilized the company, and the Microsoft partnership neutralized a key competitive threat. The public now knew Apple would survive. With the survival mechanism in place, Jobs could execute his simple, genius strategy: focus and innovation. The first product to emerge from this ruthless focus was the iMac in 1998. It was colorful, consumer-friendly, and had a simple, revolutionary design. It was a massive hit and generated a $309 million profit in the next fiscal year, officially pulling Apple back from the abyss. The path was set. The iMac led to the iPod in 2001, which led to the iPhone in 2007. Every single product that defines modern Apple, the iPhone, the iPad, the ecosystem, exists because Steve Jobs made that desperate, humbling call to his rival in 1997. The unfiltered lesson is that success isn't about crushing your competition. Sometimes, it's about having the clarity and the courage to accept their help, even when your back is broken. It was the ultimate entrepreneurial survival story. What do you think about that move? Was the Microsoft deal a brilliant tactic by a ruthless competitor, or a necessary surrender by a visionary? Let us know your unfiltered thoughts in the comments below. We have many more stories about the world's most successful tycoons and the private battles that shaped their empires. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Unfiltered Celeb Talks so you don't miss our next deep dive into the cost of power.